Alrighty, welcome, Stash. How are you doing today?
Doing good, man. Yeah, thanks for having me on here.
My pleasure. Glad to have you. For
Yeah.
anyone in the audience who might not be familiar with Stash, although I find that kind of hard to believe, he's one of the biggest names, if not the biggest name, in the general crypto gaming space. So, definitely a pleasure to have you on. Glad to take a little bit of your time. And I'll respect your time and dive right into it. First
Well,
question.
hold on, no, hold on. First off, let me tell you, I'm here and only here because I respect that stash there. I had to throw it down. I cannot turn down an opportunity, a chance to come on and chat with someone with such a fine mustache.
Well, thank you, sir. I had thought about it when I first started getting into things about following a similar brand as yourself for obvious reasons, but I saw that you already had that market cornered and well, so I was more happy to go with the Rick on the Mountain, anyways, because that is where my life really changed. Um, and so yeah, that I was more than happy to just keep going with what I'd already been working on with that. But yeah, no, you definitely deserve the name, and that is quite a fine mustache yourself as well.
Well, thank you, sir. Appreciate that.
So I've been kind of following a lot of your Web3 gaming and whatnot, but where did it start? What was your first game? Like, where did you
First
begin gaming?
game ever.
Yeah, let's take it way back.
Taking it all the way back, man, to the Atari 2600 days. Play, really probably Pong, man. Was I think was the first game ever really that I truly if I played anything before that, I don't like really remember it. But Pong was the first experience. Like I remember, going over to my friend's house, and I didn't have an Atari at the time, but like him handed me this little control with a little twisty knob on it, and I'm like, "What is this? This is cool," And then I was hooked after that, man.
Nice. That's a little before mine, actually. Mine was not even really video games. I actually started out. My first game was I got for Christmas a D&D Red Box, and so that was really my foray into gaming to begin with. And it's been all downhill since there. Like I've had so much fun with so many different games and all over the place. I actually a couple of months ago I did a 12 and a half hour stream. I replayed Diablo 1 from character creation to killing Diablo. Could it have gone faster? Yeah, absolutely. I haven't played that game in a hot minute, but it was so much fun.
That's awesome. That's a session right there, man. 12 hours. Woo.
Oh yeah, I didn't intend for it to be that, but I wasn't exactly unhappy with it either. So no complaints. Good times.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
What is your favorite Web3 game currently? Like whether that's for fun, for profit, for whatever. Like where is most of your time being spent?
Well, I'll preface this and tell you first off, I don't play Web3 games for profit. I don't play them to necessarily to earn. I'm not trying to make a living by playing these games. I know that there's some people out there that are trying to do this, but I mean, even before this kind of became the anti-narrative, we'll say, I wasn't doing that either. To me, I've always been a gamer first, and I just love playing games, and I love the idea of NFTs and blockchain as another toolbox, another tool in the toolbox for developers and for game devs. So with that being said, what am I having the most fun playing right now in Web three? It's it's a good question, man. It's a damn good question. There's a lot of great games out there. I would have to say that out of all the games, I really enjoy what Superior has done. I
Okay.
feel like the game is fun. It's funny. It looks great. It feels and moves good. They have consistent content updates, adding new content, new bosses, new things to do. And the story of it too is it's not a massive storyline, but also is compelling. I love the kind of roguelite elements to it, so I really actually enjoy playing Superior. But there's other games I really enjoy too that we played on the channel here quite often here over the last month or couple months. Metalcore has been a lot of fun. We played that. We've also played things like Phantom Galaxies, which I actually really love. They just need a little bit more content. They just
Right.
need a little bit more content. Same thing with some of the other big guys that I think have really great starts, like Star Atlas and Illuvium. They both have some stuff out, but it's not like, man, I could sit down and play this for 12 hours kind of amount of content,
Right.
you know.
But,
So
they're also just, kind of getting off the ground, and some of that footage
yeah,
looks absolutely
yeah,
amazing. The biggest thing that has kept me out of Gala currently is my computer. Like,
okay.
I can't even play most of those games, like, let
Townstar.
alone stream them. So,
I don't know if Townstar's your speed, but I mean it's browser based, so everybody can jump on that at least.
yeah. Yeah,
It's
that's
not.
true too.
I don't like it. I'm gonna tell you right now. Like I love Gala and what they're doing, but I hate. I don't like Townstar. I'm not a Townstar fan. I don't. You know, it's not the game I would play. I
Fair
feel like
enough.
it was a mistake by the team, but they're trying to rectify it, which is at least a good sign. They're
Yeah,
trying to
I
rectify.
mean, trying to work on things is definitely always a positive. That's one of the things I love about the Splinterlands team is it's not a game without problems by any stretch of the imagination, but they're
Yeah.
constantly trying new things and pushing forward and always trying to rectify the problems. Sometimes it works better than others, obviously, but also the outreach that they have and the transparency is pretty huge. So,
Yeah. No, I agree, man. They're what they're doing is very ambitious, is what it comes down to. So, are there going to be mistakes? Of course. I mean, I think that that's something that is going to happen here in any business, but let alone in Web three, where we're really like pushing the envelope with technology and incorporations of new things, cutting edge stuff. People are going to make mistakes. Every company that I'm still like incredibly bullish on, they've made a mistake here and there, man. I mean, it's going to happen, especially for a startup gaming company like this. But I think Gala has, done a good job in general in steering things in the right direction.
good answer. Good answer. Yeah, they definitely are focusing a lot more on delivering high quality, beautiful games, and I think that they're absolutely succeeding in that.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
No, I was gonna say no. I think you're right. Yeah, no, I agree. I agree.
Lately, the well, the greater Web3 gaming has been in a bit of a title upheaval. Some want to call it Web3, some play to earn, some play and earn. Where do you fall on that whole discussion?
Uh, that's a great question, man. There's the camp of like play to earn or play and earning in any kind of combination you want to put it in text is dead. And then there's the other camp of like, no, it's alive and well and it's amazing and it's kicking ass. Um, I would say I hate to say I'm not necessarily straddling the fence, but I do believe. Okay, here's how I look at it. The current implementations that we've seen with play and earn games does not work. It has not worked. I've seen this time and time again on Wax, where a new project pops up, and it's a race to the bottom. And multiple of the card games and like staking focused games is exactly what's happening there. Same thing that happened with Axie. Same thing we've seen happen with multiple play and earn games or play to earn games. They just don't have the economies done right, and if it hasn't failed right now, and they're using the same tired tactics, it probably will in the future. People get hyped on something because it's paying out now, but they
Right.
don't look at the big picture. And this was always something that I called games out on and projects out on. You know, it got to this point where it became a driving force for what's going on in Web three. But I never felt like that was the reason why I was ever here. It wasn't because oh my gosh, I can earn tons of money playing this game. It was always about ownership of items. That was one of the biggest things I always felt that was missing in traditional gaming.
100% agree on that note.
Do I feel like Play to Earn has a place and can it have a place? Yes, I do. I do think that there is a place for games that allow you to play and earn in some sort of way. I don't feel like we've found the like formula that everyone can say, yeah, this is how it works. This is what works well. It's taken a while for us to find those formulas when it comes to things like subscription models or freemium models or mobile game models. The first couple cracks of those things didn't necessarily work. It's hard enough to make an in-game economy work without crypto and playing earning in elements, but to add those things in makes it exponentially harder, especially in the long run when you talk about scaling and longevity.
Uh,
Those are like the two enemies to what we've seen in Play and Earn so far. So, do I think it's dead in a sense? I think that the implementations we've seen definitely are. And I think that, using that as a base for what makes Web3 gaming interesting or cutting traditional games is not the way to go. So that's always, I think we saw this deviation away from play to earn to things like play and earn, which is still kind of, lame in the same thing. Or, things like play to own. I like that term maybe a little bit better. Play to
I
own.
like
You're
that.
playing to be able to own these NFTs. Other things, watch to earn, kill to earn, which I love. That's what Undead Blocks is kind of thing. Like I enjoy that. But I do see issues with some of these things in the long run. I think a lot of companies make it seem really good, when they're popular in the beginning. But we've seen this time and time again. If you go down those same roads, it's not going to work out in the long run for everybody, and your game is going to just be essentially a race to the bottom. Who can extract as much value as they possibly can as quick as possible until the game runs out of it, or the token itself collapses because A, there's been too much issued, or B, the value of it is so low that nobody wants to go in and it's not worth the amount of time that people are putting in it, because the only reason they were playing the game was so they could try and earn and extract as much value as possible and then move on. And we've
Yeah,
seen that with tons
absolutely.
of Wax games. I mean, so many games and projects in Wax this has happened to, and it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate.
What's the worst project that you've seen, like in terms of just tanking straight from the get go?
Well, I mean, that's the problem is they never tank straight from the get go. There's never, that's the thing is it always looks good from the beginning, and then the tanking doesn't start happening until far down the road. A good example of this is something like Art Planet, right? So I don't know if you got an Art Planet from the beginning, but it was just this massive big thing. But the way that they were issuing tokens and the way the platform was built, it wasn't sustainable. Everyone milked it for what they could, and then it tanked. And essentially disappeared until now they've kind of come back here and they've launched some new stuff. But we see this with other games. There's been quite a few on Wax, and so I'm just kind of looking at a couple here in the list here. But yeah, I mean, like looking at a lot of these, I've seen some of these definitely, kind of hit their stride and then tank. You know.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if you're on Wax, I'm like, do I really need to get into it? Like, there's a couple, like, even Farming Tales, who has been around for a long time, I feel like a lot of this has happened. And we've seen this in a lot of other things. Starship happened with the same thing. Like, kind of going down the list here. There was another one that was computer focused. I forget what the name of that one, but it was like an 8-bit looking computer platform. Was it Battle? No, not Battle Miner. That wasn't it. But yeah, I mean, we've seen a ton of those happen, and the biggest prime example outside of Wax is obviously Axie Infinity, but we've seen others as well.
Yeah, there's
Farmer's World. That's what I was thinking about, not Farmer Tales, but kind of the same thing. Like it's like Farmer's World was at the top; it was crazy big, and then now nothing, man, because they exhausted it, and the tokenomics were just not really good.
yeah, tokenomics is definitely a big thing. Who do you feel has the best out of the projects that you have been invested in?
Well, so there's a difference between just a token-based project and a gaming project. So if it comes down to gaming and who has the best tokenomics when it comes to games, um, man, that's a rough one. I would almost, well, I feel like Gods and Chain did a good job on their rollout of their token, and here's why. They had a game for a long time before they ever incorporated a token into it. And so then what they did was they established this game that people wanted to play, and then added a token that incentivized play and like usage on the platform itself, versus going about it the other way, right? Whereas like, oh man, I've already been playing this game. Now I need this token, which I can earn by playing. I'm going to need this token to do things like buy cards or fuse things or whatever it may be, to be able to do things that I was already doing on the platform, but now this token is required for these things, and so it makes sense for it to exist. And it's not this thing where it's just like, oh, you're playing and earning, and people can extract a lot. So I think they did a really good job of their token rollout. Now the thing that we see becoming an issue is the extractive process as soon as possible. And so what I think that Gala has done actually really well with that is that with their kind of first step here with their own blockchain, they have made a system that rewards those who continue to contribute to the system in positive ways, and then gives a negative score to people who are trying to extract value quickly from the system, which then puts them in a place of earning less with their play and earn efforts, right? So what I mean by that is that they have this honor score, and the more, if you try and withdraw too much on any given day, it's going to lower that honor score that you have that is used for their game Spider Tanks, which is the kind of first test bed, we'll say, for this whole tokenomic
I
structure.
I have played a little bit of Spider Tanks. It's a very fun game. I have not again, my computer very much hampers my ability, so I haven't really pursued it because it's hard to play that kind of game when you're lagging out and whatnot. But
Mm-hmm.
very fun game in general. And I kind of knew about the honor system, so how do you feel as someone who is playing that? How do you feel about that system? Do you feel it's doing its intended purpose? It's working well?
I think so. I mean, it'll need some adjustments as we go, and I think as there's more people scaling. But the idea behind it, I think, is solid, right? Because that becomes the issue when there is some way to play and earn. Is how do you limit how much that someone can earn and how much they're extracting from the system, which they're then going and selling in the marketplace for Ethereum or Bitcoin or stable coins, and taking it out of that system and therefore essentially dumping on everybody who's playing, because that becomes the issue, right? How quickly can I pull tokens out of this project and dump them on somebody else
Absolutely. But so
before the
like
game collapses? And
my thoughts
if
on that is
if it
kind of like,
jabs, then it's going to kill the entire game.
is it seeming to you from your experience to be actively uh, disincentivizing that and encouraging people to stick around within the game and continue to grow? Is it effectively pursuing that or providing that function in your experience?
Yeah, I think so. I think that people want to continue to make good earnings or make the same amount of earnings, we'll say, right? And if they don't, if they don't follow kind of the rules and trying to say, okay, I earned 50 tokens today, I'm withdrawing all 50 so I can go cash them out. Well, I mean that's going to hurt your honor system, and so therefore you're not going to be able to earn the same amount as as you would the previous day, the next day. So you're going to have to grind more and try and earn that honor back by doing positive things, which may take way more gameplay. So I think it does kind of incentivize to not extract the value right away. The problem with these systems is that it's hard to see what's going to be happening 6 months from now, 1 year from now, 5 years from now. You can only really estimate those things, and I think that's what I mean about we still don't have the best model for earning out there. So as much as these models that I just talked about have good elements to them, are they perfect? I mean, probably not.
Nothing is. I mean, everything's going to have problems one way or another because,
Yeah,
you can't please everybody. Some are on one side of the fence, some are on the other. And
of course.
so it's always going to be kind of a balancing act. And, I don't envy any of these teams in trying to make that work, especially with, a profoundly different model that, we only have a couple years of experience with. I feel like most of them that are actually trying to do the right thing and not just taking quick profit, rug pulling and whatnot, because I've definitely run into some of those too. But most of the teams that are doing active things to try and stay afloat and keep their project going, they're you know, generally doing a pretty good job for the most part, if
Yeah.
as long as they're
Well,
trying to.
and a lot of times, I mean, I'm not even saying that a lot of times there's negative intentions. They're like they intended to rug or they intended. I think it's just poorly thought out sometimes.
I've definitely run into some that were just from the gate there was no game, and like there is nothing at all, no kind of return. It's just a straight up rug pull, and I know that those exist, and that's why it's important for everyone always do your own research. Don't just listen to any one voice on the YouTube, him, me, anybody else. Always do your own research before you put some money into something, because there are scams out there, but there's also a lot of really really great games that are awesome and fun in and of themselves, even without an earning mechanic.
Sure.
And if more people, I feel, played the games like that rather than just trying to extract as much value as possible, then it would all go a whole lot better. But of course, that's that's a pipe dream and a half right there.
Yeah. It's one of those things where we're at an early stage. We're just testing, so it's things are going to happen. You can't necessarily fault everybody. I mean, but at the same time, you got to take responsibility too. Hey, we fucked up. We didn't think this through. We
Yeah,
didn't know. I mean, there's only so many excuses you can say, especially at this point. At this point, I think that if you're doing something like that, then I think it's pretty obvious.
yeah. Like I have a couple of cool ideas for games and whatnot, but just the prospect of trying to actually put something together and whatnot, it's like you know what? That's a whole lot of learning that I would love to do. That's a whole lot of work that I wouldn't particularly care to. I see what a lot of these other creators are doing and whatnot, and the kind of backlash that they get, even though, overall the Web3 community is super supportive and wonderful people. You have that vocal minority that is always very, very vocal. So, and then, sometimes they're right, which just gives them, all the more kind of power and cachet and oomph behind those voices. So,
Yeah, yeah, it's a tricky balance, man.
who do you think has the best community?
Oof, community overall. Gala's community is pretty strong, man. When it comes down to it, I think Gala has a pretty strong community. Alluvian and Star Atlas both have pretty strong communities too. If you're talking about just like gaming communities, some of the top communities out there. I think that they all have very engaged people who are interested in what they're doing and playing the games. Big Time is also a pretty good one too. Really strong community there behind their game. But a lot of these communities we see in Web three are of the same people.
That's
So
also
someone's
true.
going to be they're going to be in the Illuvium community. They're going to be in this community. They're going to be in the Forge Arena community. They're going to be because they kind of generally like what's going on.
Absolutely, it's always definitely a good idea to spread out as well, because you never know when one game might get hit with that race to the bottom or get rugged or
Yeah.
whatnot. Uh, Definitely important to be all over the place. And so for someone who is primarily Wax and Hive, such as myself and a lot of people who are in my audience, how would you recommend branching out?
Well, it's funny because like a lot of people are like blockchain specific. Like, hey, if you're not all in on this and you're doing other like, I've never been that tribalistic type of person, man. I know there's a lot of people who are very much of that nature. I just kind of go where there's cool things happening, and I gravitate towards Wax because they were doing cool things, and that doesn't mean that I don't you know talk about NFTs or create NFTs or do other things on other platforms. I totally do. When it comes down to like what would be a good way to kind of get out of an ecosystem, go find things that you enjoy in other places. Like Wax is cool, but the thing that Wax lacks is actual games.
Right.
There's not a lot of like games that are like this is they become just like these passive clicker games. Wax is very much known for passive card focused clicker type games. But there are a couple games out there. Forge Arena is probably one of the best games on Wax that is out there that is like consistently trying to build and do something that it goes beyond just being an idle clicker game. I mean, it's an FPS game that actually it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I've seen it and it looks fun. It also looks like something my computer's not going to deal with. Plus, I am absolutely terrible at first person shooters. It is
Yeah,
not my game style of choice. And so, I definitely see the potential there for it to be a great use of, Web3 and the potential that being on the blockchain has. But for me personally, it's not the most fun gaming, and it's also not the most fun losing, and losing is something I do very well in those games. It's about the only thing. I can't aim worth a crap and move and whatnot. I can do it in life. I did it in Iraq for the computer or a controller, especially a controller. At least with WASD and a mouse, like I can do all right, but give me joysticks and I'm terrible. I pretty much went from the tabletop to the computer. I did a little bit of console gaming and whatnot. Had great times on Super Nintendo. Nintendo hated the N64 controller. It just as soon as it came out, I was like, all right, this is the worst thing ever to happen to gaming. And however many years later, I'm still correct. That controller was atrocious, and it ruined gaming for me because it made sure that every controller that came after it had a thumbstick, and I just
Yeah.
D-pad worked for every reason. There's no reason we need the thumbsticks.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's definitely different. I mean, there's always going to be evolutions in gaming and things like that. So I feel it's hard. It's hard to adapt sometimes. Hard to adapt sometimes.
Yeah, and I mean, I still love the games in general. I'm just like, it's not like I refuse to play an FPS, but it's not going to be the thing that I'm going to get invested in because it's just not my style, and I'm not very good at it. So, I'll leave that to the players that are. I'm not ruin anybody's day by being the one on their team that is dragging and catching that loss. I'm better at something like spider tanks, but even there, like I played a few games and I was absolutely the worst one on both teams in most of those games. But was it fun? Yeah. Am I gonna continuously play it and drag someone's team down? Not really. I learned that from the League of Legends community. The one of the most toxic communities that has ever existed. But yeah, I was like, you suck at your position, so stop playing. You know what? After a while, I realized I'm not all that good anyway. So the fun kind of gets limited when you are the worst one on the team. So like, all right, whatever. I don't need this. I can do other things. I got up to Greater Rift 100 on hardcore with a Demon Hunter in Diablo 3. So go where your skills are. You're probably gonna have a better time.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying when it comes down to like venturing out to other things and other blockchains is just finding something that you connect with. You know.
Absolutely. So speaking of the things we connect with, have you been in touch with Splinterlands at all lately? Is that something that's still an ongoing thing for you? Do you touch it every once in a while just to see what's up, or is it totally off your radar?
No, man, I play Smartlands every week. I have an active guild there that's a top 100 guild, the Secret Stashers,
Nice.
and we're competing in brawls every single week. And
I have come up against your guild, one of them, because you have a couple of guilds, right? Or is it just the
no,
one?
that's the only one. Just Secret Stashers is the only guild.
I have come up against you guys in brawls. I did not face you, so I wasn't sure if it was just your guild and whatnot because I didn't do a deeper dive or anything like that. But
Yeah, so I mean, yeah, so definitely playing Splinterlands and still enjoying it.
what are your feelings about the latest developments there?
Which ones?
Whatever you want to comment on first. There's so many to pick from.
The thing. Okay, so I'll comment on the things that I don't like first, and what I'll say is that I feel like they could. Okay, so with the recent expansion into doing other IPs and other games and other things, I wasn't really too fond of that, and not focusing on getting the land gameplay done before these other things were done, so they could do pack sales for these other things. I feel like was misguided in my opinion. So we're still kind of waiting for like, all right, well, what the hell do I do with my land, man? I don't know. It's still sitting here, but yeah, they've expanded and they're trying to do a tower defense game and they're trying to do this other like I think soccer thing, whatever. And I'm just like, it doesn't make a whole hell of a lot of sense to me.
I get that, and I have argued a very similar point for a long time now, which is that even as a non-landholder, land is needs to be the number one focus of the team. And to be fair, there are other teams that are working on those two other games. There's very little Splinterlands resources going towards it. They're just kind of expansion.
They say that, but I have a sneaking suspicion that's not actually fully the case.
Fair.
Because when it comes down to it, okay, maybe you have other teams working on this, but where are the money and the resources coming to work on these games from?
Also true. That's a very solid point.
Wonderland's pool of money, right? Of resources. Now they may not; those resources, maybe specific ones. Like when you talk about like human resources, do they have like specific teams just working on those things, and they're not, sure, but that doesn't mean that it has to be managed by the greater Splinterlands team, and then also that the money is that they're putting towards that is coming from Splinterlands profits. I'm assuming it's not like they got, as far as I know, I don't think they got specific funding rounds just for those games. I could be wrong, but I don't think that's the case.
Fair enough. I do believe that at least in terms of the tower defense game, that their funds actually came from their pack sales, but
Right.
I could be totally wrong about that as well. I don't really follow the money trail that closely, but it's definitely an interesting point that I hadn't really thought of. And
I mean, someone had to pay to get that stuff done, right?
yeah, that's true. Like, no matter what, somebody at least designed the web page. Like, and that's kind of a thing that I've been railing against with a lot of these changes that have happened. Is like, okay, this is, well and good, especially the ones aimed at fixing the economy. It's like, it's all well and good, but that is what land was designed for. That is, the economy was designed to work around land, and so not having land is the reason the economy is jacked up, in addition to massive overprinting of DEC during the SPS airdrop and massive overprinting of Chaos Legion cards. Like, that's their own separate issues, but land would even solve both of those issues. So everything else that's kind of happening in the meanwhile, is it all bad? Not necessarily, but it's all a distraction from land, and land is 100% what they should be focused on. And I'm not saying you can't do anything aside from land, because if you're not growing, you're dying, and it's not like we can just stop for a whole year to get land out. But I mean, land is already 2 years past when it was supposed to be out, so they can definitely be focusing on it more and doing fewer distractions.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Hey, I noticed in chat someone said that they can't hear me, so I don't know if you checked the live stream to see if the audio is coming through there, but yeah, maybe.
Oh no, that would be terrible. All right, try now.
Yeah, check, check, check.
Okay.
Hopefully we can get it fixed.
All right, there we go, and now I can.
It's tricky, man. Doing a live stream thing is not easy. It's tricky.
Yeah, definitely is. I am glad to kind of have bugs to work out, because unfortunately, like, I really should have had all of this done before you came on. That was kind of stupid of me to not get done, but live and learn and improve along the way every day, right?
Yeah, no worries, man. No worries.
So that is actually one of the things I wanted to talk to you about, man. Your production quality is just insane. Do you, like, how much of that is you? How much of that is a hired team?
All me, man.
All
when
you.
it comes
Wow,
to
that's
when it comes to the production, obviously, well, I have video editors and people who help with like other things behind the scene and stuff like that. Like, but when it comes to actual production of the shows, most of the graphics you see, I've done. I have everything set up here through OBS, all the scenes. I've created all that stuff myself, and Stream Deck and all that jazz. So yeah, on the production side of stuff, I do most of that stuff myself.
That's awesome. What's your favorite program
My favorite program for what?
for production? What do you? What's the tool that you gravitate to most on any given project?
Oh, I mean, for producing live stream stuff like that and like video content, if that's what you mean, OBS is my go-to.
Nice. That's
Yeah.
the same thing I use. I was on Streamlabs for a while, and then when I got involved with Splinterlands TV, Ron said, you should really use OBS. It makes life a whole lot easier for
Yeah.
both of us if there's any kind of issues, and so I switched over. There are a couple things about Streamlabs that I miss, like having the chat overlay, but now that I finally got a second monitor, that's less of a problem. I can have that up.
Yep. Yeah, man, OBS is the way to go for sure.
So how do you feel about the Soulbound reward cards and uh, like that kind of thing? how is your collection going?
I think the soulbound reward cards thing makes sense. Obviously it reduces earnings overall on the platform is what it just comes down to, right? Because you can't earn these cards and then go sell them,
Yeah.
which is what a lot of people were doing, I think.
And my
But I think
biggest
it does
problem
make
of it,
sense.
honestly, is on the other side. Because think about, like, in 2 or 3 months, a brand new player coming into the game. Like, yeah, there's always been a card gate in terms of you have to buy certain cards or rent them or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And you're not, earning off of anything unless you buy or rent some cards. But now, you have to play against and beat these bots that have a perfect play algorithm using cards that not only do you not have access to, but you cannot have access to because you can't buy them or rent them. I feel like
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
kind of a net negative on new players.
Yeah. No, it definitely puts new players at a disadvantage. But ideally and hopefully, if they're a new player, they'll get in and start earning those cards at some sort of level. Once they can get to the earning level, and they can start earning those cards as well. But farther down the line is really where the problems come. It's like, okay, well, what happens when that set of reward cards is been sunsetted, right? They're no longer available. They have a new set or new things that are giving us rewards. Well, you're right. There's no way to get those now. There's no way to get those, into anybody's hands. So if something there becomes part of the meta long term, you just won't have a chance to get it. So,
Exactly. Like
so
my kind of go
yeah.
to is Oceanus. Like out of the
Mhm.
reward cards, and like yeah, he's pretty cheap. He's only $2, but like, could you imagine, as especially as a new player, trying to fight your way through novice without Oceanus? Like that's kind of insane. And
Yeah,
yeah, I mean why I feel like the reward cards should have been left alone. I absolutely love the idea of soulbound cards. I just don't
yeah.
think it should have necessarily been switching the reward cards
Well,
over to.
that becomes the problem with any card then.
True.
Literally that so if you make any card soul bound, the same exact problem is going to happen. It doesn't matter if they're reward cards or not. So it is tricky, and um, I don't really know. Like I said, I don't know how it's going to work out long term.
Yeah,
To be
I
perfectly
feel like
honest.
short term it's not that big of a deal and everybody's super excited
Yeah,
about it, but I feel like the long term effects there's definitely going to be some unintended consequences and it's very much wait and see.
yeah,
Hopefully it doesn't turn
yeah,
out as badly as I feel like it will, but um, you know we shall see. My one of my biggest issues with it was the fact that they dropped 43 of them at once. Like, how long is it going to take anybody to level up anything?
yeah. I mean, any of these games like this that are like card based games, it's always going to be pay to win. You can't. That's one of the biggest problems with card-based games is that that's just literally what the game like. You have to have the cards, so you're paying to win essentially because you're buying high-end cards or whatever, and those cards are going to be better or do better in a match. Theoretically.
Absolutely.
So
It's not like there's zero skill involved, but sometimes you do just flat out lose to the bigger wallet.
yeah, yeah. If someone just has much better the cards than you, it doesn't matter how good you put together a team. Like there's just some things you can't overcome. Some things you just can't overcome.
Like Llama Kron, if it's Earth only and 17 mana. If you don't have it, you lose to it. Flat out.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, some of those things are hard to counter. They're just not easy things to counter. So,
Who's your favorite summoner?
oh, oh man, favorite summoner. See, the problem is that you can't have a favorite summoner. You legit can't because it's not there. There's there's so many variety of situations to be able to play and different rule sets that what does having a favorite summoner even do or mean? So like, what does it come down to? Like, what's the coolest looking one? Man, I don't know, dude. That maybe it's like which one looks the coolest.
I mean, that's a
Because other than
solid way
that,
to
like,
answer the question. So, who do you feel looks the best?
yeah, I've never really thought. Let me pull up my calendar. I've never really thought about that. To be perfectly honest, let me go see because I got it up here. If I'm looking at my cards, who do I think actually? Because it's not something that I necessarily was like, oh yeah, this it's this. Let me pull up summoners. I could tell you like. Okay, so favorite to play, I guess, a lot of times is probably going to be Llama Mage. I love being able to crush somebody with that card, but like I think coolest looking man, like Yoden Zaku is definitely one of the coolest looking like summoners. He just has a ferocity to him. You know his look there, man. Some of these other guys are just kind of weak sauce. I think they've done a good job with some of the newer summoners too. They look kind of cool.
Yeah, and in terms of with the updated art, I'd have to go with like Octavia Shadowmeld because she looks just awesome, and they did so well on these on the art for these
Yeah.
latest set of reward cards, and I
Hmm.
feel like
Hmm.
she just looks wicked with those claws. In terms of overall, just the coolest design for the character, I think it would be the Peak Rider.
It'd be what?
Peak Rider. He's like the complete
Okay.
opposite of the fallen angel. He is the risen demon, and he's got smoke pouring out of his helmet and everything like that. And I mean, just the story behind the card, the art, the way it all ties together, his stats,
Yeah.
just ridiculous.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But I mean, that's what it comes down. Like, you could have a favorite summoner, but like, it's not like, oh, I just want to use this all the time because most time, a lot of times, you just can't. You just can't
Yeah,
use that summoner.
I think I have an easy one, and it's because I've have some experience with like Kitty and Llama and Yoden, but Ulrich is definitely like my favorite summoner. Just the team that he's got is the same reason why Kelia is the best of the Chaos Legion summoners. It's not because
Hmm.
she's actually any better. It's because she's good and has an amazing team behind her. Well,
Hmm.
the water team behind Ulrich is even better than the team behind Kelia, and it's pretty incredible. Although out of the Soulbound reward cards, I did complete the Fire Epic Taunt Tank and the Weapons Training Legendary. And so I've been having a lot of fun with that combo. I actually switched over to Modern and fought my way from Silver 2 to Diamond 1, Diamond 3 in
Oh wow.
4 hours over the course of a couple Splinterlands TV streams, primarily to test that in Silver because I'm a Gold and Diamond player in Wild normally. And I had
Yeah.
already gotten Diamond. I didn't want to lose any more games to get out of Diamond, but I did want to burn down my ECR and get a couple more chests. So I was like, well, why not? I'll switch back over to Modern. Right now, I have a fairly comprehensive Wild deck, but almost no Modern in it. Like my Modern is all stuff that I own, and it's like bronze, maybe silver level. Whereas for
Hmm.
Wild, I've got pretty much everything because I have it from a whale who mostly plays Modern, and so I just
Yeah.
almost like Nifty, but without the third party platform. Um, what are your feelings on Nifty?
I'm so Nifty. Which one are you talking about?
Nifty Arcade is the kind of deck lending platform where you can go ahead and
Oh no, I haven't used that, man. I haven't used that.
it's awesome, and I bet you have enough extra cards that you should consider checking them out. So basically, you can put up a deck, build an
Well,
entire
I mean,
deck.
I use services to do that. I don't use that platform.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you a renter then, or like what do you do with the cards that you don't need because you've already got your deck?
Yeah. So I mean, I do put them on rent. So I use a bot to kind of help with that. So renting cards that I'm not using,
Right. Yeah,
basically.
I use the Peak Monsters rental bot myself right now because I don't really
Yeah.
have a solid deck to put on Nifty.
Yeah.
But the
Yeah. I
way
mean,
Nifty works
there's
is
one
kind
thing
of
like
cool because it helps
there's
to
one thing about putting
onboard new
like decks
players.
on there. Yeah. It's weird to like put a deck on there versus just putting the card. Like I don't know. I guess people want to rent a specific like set of cards or something, but I don't know.
Plus, it's for generally a whole season versus 2 days, 3 days, whatever. You don't have to worry about people canceling on
Yeah.
you, and it's easier for new players because when you rent your cards, you pay for that up front. But with Nifty, it's done on a profit sharing system. So they just get a portion of your SPS that you earn in battles and whatnot. And then typically, now that the reward cards are always soul bound, unless you get a bunch of packs, you'll get whatever percentage of your packs. but they'll
Mhm.
get whatever percentage of the packs as well.
Yeah. I mean, that is a good feature. Like, I guess that's not something I really thought about, but yeah, the renting thing where it's like, all right, I rented this, and then someone decides, nope,
Yeah, and it's really kind of
I could see
a
that.
decision of, do you want DEC or do you want SPS and packs? Is pretty
Yeah.
much the real decision on where you want to put those cards, and also, do you have a complete deck? Because an incomplete deck is a lot less likely to be picked up. But one of the primary issues that Nifty is having right now is a lack of decks, especially high level decks, because
Hmm.
Splinterlands did just pull 500,000 packs to make decks for Nifty to cover a lot of bronze and silver decks for easier outreach, and I think that
Hmm.
that was great. Did you vote on that? Which way did you lean?
I didn't vote on that one. Nope.
Oh wait, no, that one wasn't a vote. That one was one that they just did because they own the Splinterlands pack or the Chaos Legion packs. Um,
Oh, right. No, I mean, I didn't, honestly, I didn't even know that that was something they were doing.
and what about the land starter packs and whatnot that is currently up for vote? What are your feelings on that? Are you going to be getting some? How much land do you have?
I have a couple of tracts of land. I mean, I don't have a lot, man. When it went live, for the same reason I feel a little bit left out right now. Like they just didn't have much of a plan.
Right.
I saw this and I was like, this is pretty obviously not a very well thought out plan, and so I didn't like go all in. But I was like, I'll buy a little bit, and so I did. You know, like I said, I feel like they never really had a plan, and now they're kind of fumbling. That's how it feels like to me, man. I don't know if that's the case, if they've really been working on it a lot behind the scenes, maybe. But I know I haven't even looked at that recent proposal. Actually, I need to go
I
check
would
it out a
say
little bit.
that that is not an unfair characterization. But you got in, like, you actually bought your land from the company, like, initial offering.
Yeah, when they did the first land sale. Yeah.
Nice. I was not around then, and I wish I had been. that's
Yeah,
that's
I've been
gotten you a
playing
lot of
Steam. I've
SPS
been
over the
playing.
years,
Yeah, I've been playing Splinterlands since when it was called Steam Monsters, man. So I've been playing since the beta, or
right?
not the
I
beta,
was
but
late to
since
the game.
beta cards. Yeah.
I'm coming up on 2 years now, but it's definitely not a long time in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah.
So, what do you feel about rotation? Are you wild or are you modern?
Uh, so mostly I've been playing modern. I do jump in wild and play sometimes, but I feel like, man, there's I'm still missing a good amount of cards in wild that I would really need to be competitive there, man. I feel like there's you need to have some pretty old school, like high level cards that are fairly expensive at this point to really be super competitive at like the diamond area, which
Yeah,
is where I usually play. Gold or diamond is usually what I'm playing in.
and that's kind of like mine. I've got the reverse. I've got all of the old cards max level, but I don't have hardly anything from Chaos Legion Rift Watchers. So that's why I play in
Mhm.
gold and then just finish diamond at the end of the season, because it's like
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
fairly certain I can't actually compete in diamond against people that have the old stuff and the new stuff. I can beat people who have mostly new stuff and some of the old stuff, like you
yeah.
see in gold and silver. I can do pretty well. But going into diamond, you've got people that have everything, and it becomes a lot
Hmm.
more difficult.
Hmm. Yeah, exactly, man. Because like I said, I played it for a long time, but I was never like upgrade all my cards, get everything, collect the whole set, do all those things. It's always been a very casual thing for me. That's what I like about Splinterlands is it's pretty casual, man. You can jump in, play a couple matches, doesn't require a ton of time, and that's kind of nice, man. Not having to like jump in and spend tons of time, trying to play a game. Matches are quick.
Right.
There's some good diversity. So
So you're not one to totally maximize every single drop of your ECR,
nope, don't care that much. I mean, well, because like once again, why are you doing that?
right?
You're doing it so you can earn the maximum rewards and min maxing it to a fact where like you're gonna get the max rewards, but not run it down too much where you're not earning it, enough. And that's why people do it. So it's motivated by wanting to earn more. And I'm not necessarily motivated in that respect. So
Fair enough. For me, it's more along the lines of I love the game, and I try and maximize my ECR to the point where as long as I'm playing, the opportunity to earn is there. I might as well try and take advantage of it. And I use it more as a limiting of my play rather than
Sure.
a reason to play. It's more like, okay, we've played enough of our ECR today. Now it's time to stop, focus more on other things, and
Yeah.
go back to it after a while.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and that's fine. Everyone kind of has their own way they want to go about things and do stuff. But if you were like really into it, would you continue to play past what what that kind of sweet spot for ECR is? If you're just like, man, I'm on a roll, I'm winning, I'm having a good time, screw my ECR. I'm gonna fucking just go in and just keep playing this for another 2 hours.
Absolutely, I've done that before, and that's
All
one of
right.
the
See, now
things I
that's what I'm
love
talking.
about.
That's what we want to hear, right? Because that's what you should be doing. It should never be like, all right, I'm stopping now just because of my ECR. I mean, it could be a good benchmark and say, I really only should be playing X amount of time, and this is helping with that, limiting it.
Yeah, my official schedule is a stream from midnight to 2 a.m. That's somewhat of a lie because it very rarely stop before 3, and I often go as far as 4 or 5. A couple of times I've hit 7 o'clock, and it's like, yeah, I'm gonna keep playing as long as I'm having fun. And then like the day before the season ends, I always just bomb the hell out of my ECR because that's when you're at the highest earnings. And I really don't like playing the first couple days of the season when you've got all the leaderboard
Yeah.
players from the leaderboard above. It's just so difficult. I'm like, you know what? Let me earn maximum rewards and enjoy it rather than, playing at the same amount tomorrow, earning minimal rewards and hating it. So
Yeah.
that's kind of my
Yeah. The beginning.
strategy, and it works pretty well for me.
No, I feel yeah. The beginning of the season two, it can be kind of rough, man. Especially when they do like make big changes and stuff like that. Like I'll tell you when they made they're like, all right, we're adding a third rule set. I'm like that just totally screwed me, man. Like all the stuff in my brain, it just totally was like, this does not compute. This does not compute.
I
Three like
love the third rule set for the most part, but I feel like they need to take a much broader comb to the combinations that they don't allow. I've made a spreadsheet of it and added, or well, they put a semi spreadsheet into one of their blog posts, and I copied that and kind of filled it out and expanded it, and I've kept it accurate. And like, I love the complexity of adding the third rule set. I do feel like they need to add the first rule set to novice. I feel like it should be novice has one rule set, bronze has two, silver has a low chance of 3, gold has a middling chance of 3, and then diamond you're getting 3 most of the time. I feel like that should have
I
been
like
more
that.
gradiated.
That makes sense to me, actually. I think that makes sense.
Because the problem with it as it exists now is like novice, one of the worst things about it, of course, you're playing against basically nothing but bots. And they
Yeah.
have the algorithmic perfect play. But there's also no rule sets, which makes it even easier for the bots to know the best team to beat you because there's no
Yeah.
variation. There's very little
Mhm.
variation in the terms of mana. And also, like, the fun of the game is the complexity of those changing rule sets. So when you're first coming into the game, you're playing in novice, you're having a terrible experience because you're not even playing the actual game. You're just playing a dumbed down version of it against bots that have a perfect advantage over you. And then now they're going to have cards that you can't even buy.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
that's
Mhm.
like that to me is the crux of the bot farm problem. Like, I'm not against individual bots. I loved having Archmage and Xbot to kind of watch my back. So those days when I don't play, like I don't hit 100% ECR and then start wasting it. It would just go ahead and play a few matches for me just to make sure that I stay in that 90% range. And then I'll usually, when I actually do play on stream, I'll play down to 70% and then just let it build
Yeah.
back up, or 60% if I've got the bot running and keeping me at 90. And then end of season is when I just completely bomb it, tank it all the way down to 10 or 0 if I can.
Right. Right. No,
This past
and
season
that's
I
what I'm
was
saying.
stoked. I switched over to modern to do that that combination of Idrifire and Phyrexian Hero, and it's amazing. I'm actually working on a blog article about it. Definitely check that out when I get it posted, hopefully later today. But I'm analyzing like 12 games where I got to play them, and they basically carried me all the way through, even at level 1. and absolutely incredible. But because they took me into Diamond, it's the first time I've ever finished Diamond in both leagues. So pretty excited about
Mhm.
that.
Very cool, man. Yeah, usually I just kind of stick to modern. I don't try and run up both sides, and it's just a time thing is what it comes down to. I use Xbot as well, and even with that, like I feel like it's a time thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I need to get myself an Xbox token. So when you're getting your SPS and whatnot, and also as a broader scope for other games that you're playing, whenever you're getting tokens, what is your kind of go-to uh, destination for them? Are you a staker? Are you a liquidity pool investor? Do you reinvest it back into the game? Primarily, obviously, everything changes based on the game and the circumstances. But like, what's your general philosophy?
Staking. Yeah, I stake my SPS pretty much. Grabbing some, obviously vouchers and stuff like that. But yeah, I usually just stake my SPS, and then because of the guild, I'm always contributing DEC to our guild buildings and things. So.
And are you buying your DEC? Are you burning SPS for DEC? What are you selling to get DEC now that you're not getting any from the game? Or are you a leaderboard player that's still getting it from the game?
No, yeah, definitely not leaderboard player. No, I mean I had a pretty nice stack of DEC that I've been kind of sitting on, and so if I needed to burn, do other things to grab it, I would to be able to do that. Kind of converting it to do it. I think that I think I've stashed enough at this point to be able to continue to contribute to the guild and things like that, so we can get our buildings going. So
Fair enough. Plus, you're renting out your cards, so you get DEC that way. That's also a big part
yep,
of why I rent out my cards. Um,
yep,
I tend to like all of the SPS that I get that's already staked. I don't really unstake anything. The only time I ever unstaked was just before the Rift Watchers presale. I
mm-hmm,
took a little bit out just for Rift Watchers. But all of the liquid rewards that I get, I don't tend to stake any of that. I put it all into like liquidity pools and whatnot to get a better return on it and just to kind of keep building that up.
yeah.
Just over 13,000 staked. So pretty stoked about that. I'm looking forward to when the SPS throttling to rewards earning actually comes about. I feel like that is the answer to the bots that we really need. Um, because again, it
Yeah,
doesn't
man,
really.
bots are a problem, but at the same time, like Splinter is kind of, as much as like they want to fix it, it's also like not necessarily in their favor to do so. But I don't, you know, I don't really know how exactly the best way would be to actually ban them completely. It's hard, for this type of game in particular.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't. I've argued against a bot ban for a long time because it's not number one. It's not doable. Like you can ban bots. Every game bans bots. Every game still has bots because it's just
Yeah,
not actually feasible. So it's
right.
against TOS, and you get banned if you get caught. You can still just make another account. Like it's not
Yeah,
actually solvable. But I like the kind of way that they have been going about trying to disincentivize it and make it so that it's more of a fair playing field. But I
yeah,
also feel like, SPS requirements, staked SPS for earning rewards, was promised in the SPS white paper. And we've been waiting for it for so long, and so many other changes have come out to combat the bots. And I feel like that's the best one. Because the
hmm
problem is
hmm
just, making sure that if you're going to be extracting from the ecosystem that you have something put into it. And so I feel like that's the answer that we've been waiting for, and there's no reason why it couldn't already be here. We already have staked SPS as a requirement for tournaments, so
yeah,
flicking the
yeah.
switch to apply it to ranked play would not be difficult. But I understand where Aggie's coming from, that's got to be part of the validators. But
Well, right, and that's why I said, and that's kind of what I was saying about, Gala and how they have their thing set up. They make earning and how much you can earn depending on how much you're extracting. So the more you're extracting, the less you're earning.
yeah, and that's something that I had seen brought up as as a way that Splinterlands could approach the problem, and I feel like it's pretty good. That's why I was asking you about it earlier. Like
Mm-hmm.
from your experience, how well does it work? Is that something you would like to see applied to Splinterlands? Do you feel like it would work better than the things that they have been doing? Where do you land on that?
I think that there is a way to be able to have a kind of combination of things where, you don't need to have a prohibitive structure in place, like having to stake a coin that you have to go get to start playing the game. So maybe it's like, well, until you get to the earning level, then you don't have to stake anything. But if you don't ever stake anything, you don't ever earn anything.
Gotcha.
And so people can start playing. They can get used to the game, kind of see if it's for them, but not have to like, okay, if you want to play Splinterlands, you have to go get some SPS and stake it to even play in ranked. I don't know. It's once again, it's a balancing act, man. I mean, how do you deter bots, but at the same time still make it friendly for new users? That's hard, man. It's hard.
Yeah, well, the SPS staking requirements wouldn't be a hard gate to like playing. It would be exactly that. Is you just like the spell book, you can play as much as you want without even having a spell book, but
Right.
in order to earn anything, you have to have a spell
You
book.
got to get, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
I can
And that's
see,
what I'm saying. So
the
I
staking
think that as long as
requirements
it
being
doesn't prohibit any kind of user experience for like new user experience, then I think it can work. But at the same time, having it relying on the token, and it can't just be like how much you earn is reliant on how many tokens you have staked either, because then you have these whales that are just going to gobble up all of the earnings because they can stake the most amount of tokens, and that decentivizes people who don't necessarily have as much liquidity to be able to do that. So I don't know, it's a tricky balance for sure.
Fair enough. Definitely that. Again, don't envy the people trying to put that fair and equitable solution into place, because it's definitely not an easy answer.
Yeah.
So you tweeted a little while ago a great question, and I wanted to hear your answers on it. What are the central elements of Web3 gaming?
The central elements of Web3 gaming. I mean, in my opinion, the most pivotal one, the one that is the most important is ownership of your assets. I really think that ownership of your assets through NFT functions is really the killer use case for crypto, being incorporated into a game. There's so much money that's left on the table because of this, in games right now. I know I've spent thousands of dollars in games where I can't do anything with those assets. It gets tossed or just not possible. The way they built their game, you can't trade them in a marketplace to somebody fairly and transparently. So that kind of sucks, and I don't want that to be the case anymore. But the same thing too, that really the second thing I would say is really the transparency of these items, knowing that something is genuine, right? Seeing that this is a genuine item that is came from the game and can be verified that it is genuine, then it also is rare. Those two things are pretty important. The game says, hey, there's only 1,000 of these, you just got to trust them,
Right.
like we're only putting 1,000 of these skins out. Well, but we didn't also count the 500 we gave away to content creators. That doesn't count. Well, it does if someone's trying to calculate the rarity of something they have that they want to try and sell, or why they would be buying it in the first place. So I think that I've definitely been duped before, trying to buy something in the black market, and it was somebody who found a loophole or a bug in the game to be able to dupe items, and then go sell them in this black market because everyone wants these items, and he's found a way to skirt things. With blockchain technology, that wouldn't be possible. You could easily verify and say, oh no, this is not an authentic item. You can see here it's not on the chain.
Yep,
Sorry,
absolutely.
can't buy that.
Verifiability and immutability, definitely huge
Yeah.
aspects of what makes it important, and I'm a big fan of that as well. And then IPFS, I saw you also while I was getting ready. I watched that video. Your protection. So is that a new project? As I said, it was while I was getting ready, so I was only kind of able to halfway pay attention.
IPFS is that no? IPFS has been around for a long time, and literally what the entire Wax network is built off of that.
Yeah, no, I mean that was a poorly phrased question. I know what IPFS is, but your video
okay.
about it.
If you don't know what IPFS is and you're on Wax, man, I'd be surprised, because that's literally like how everything is stored whether you're creating your NFTs on Nifty or if you're creating them on Atomic or whatever it may be. Yeah. But no, but the video that I did recently right here that I just debuted today is about Pinata. So Pinata is like a really easy way to manage your NFT data and images for doing things like making your projects on Wax.
So that's more on the creator side, not so much on the
Yeah.
consumer side.
No, it's definitely a creator tool. So it's meant to be a tool for creators to go in and use it to make their their stuff. So
fair enough. Good to know. And I'm glad to hear that that's not something immediately pressing that I need to go do right now. But do they have coins, something along those lines? Because it sounds like a great service, and if it's fairly early, for those of us who might be looking to invest into that.
Do they have it? No, it's not. It's just a platform. It's a software platform, so they don't have a coin or anything like that. It's just you pay for a monthly fee to be able to host your items there, and that's that.
So it's crypto adjacent
actually,
in terms of product, not in terms of like a coin or economics. It would be more of a stock market thing for investing into them. Are they publicly available?
They're not. No, they're not a publicly traded company, so there's no way to invest in Pinata.
Okay.
I'll just put it that way. It's just it's a software as a service, and actually, it's free to get started. But if you need more like an enterprise account, like you're doing a full blown platform or something, or big project, then you would pay a monthly fee to have like your dedicated server and things like that. So
fair enough. There is a Hive game that I've been pretty stoked about that is in the works right now. I'm wondering if you have heard about Astral Revelations.
I have not. No, tell me more.
So they have an interesting kind of elemental system. You got earth, water, fire, air, very typical element style.
Yeah.
And then there are 4 familiars, one of which has a base of each type. So you got like your fire that has a base type, but that creature can actually come in any of the 4 different elements. And so you've got 16 possible creatures right now. This is just the first tier. And basically you're doing almost kind of Pokemon style team exploration and whatnot. And then there's another area where you can kind of grow your home base and improve your team stats there and also explore to get more. And I have read the white paper out on one of my streams before. It seems very interesting. I've been kind of keeping up with their developments. I've put in and bought a starter pack and claimed my free Wisp. And I'll send you links to all of this whenever we're done, and then I'll go ahead and put them in the description on the replay video as well for anybody in the audience. But it's looking like it's got the potential to be a pretty cool exploration style. It's still going to have the kind of card aspects that we're already familiar with, and that seems to be most of what Hive does, but it's going to be a kind of a more interesting style of gameplay, and I'm looking forward to it.
Cool. Awesome, man. It sounds cool.
And now, so what was it that brought you into crypto gaming? Obviously, you've been around for a while. If you were in Splinterlands back when it was Steam Monsters, was that kind of your introduction, or how did you first get involved as an OG?
No, it wasn't the first introduction, actually. Well, I mean, it was pretty early on, but not really. But it wasn't the first introduction. So before there was. Well, I mean, so Steam was around for a while before there was really any games on Steam. I was working with companies like Engine and with Wax early on. Like I bought into Wax's ICO. So before they even had a platform, when they were just doing like op skins, I was working with Wax. And so yeah, some of these early ones really Engine was some of the early ones. And I mean, I did things like Crypto Kitties and a couple other ones like Cheese Wizard, things that were around the beginning of NFTs. But they weren't, to me, they weren't really like games. Engine was the first company that really had some games that were being developed that were actually playable, fun games. So I think it was mostly Engine games that got me going. And then when Splinterlands kind of came on the scene, I was like, oh, this is cool, and checked it out. But it was after, like I said, they had already gotten to beta. I wasn't there during the alpha stuff.
Cool. I I learned a very important lesson from Engine. I made a decent amount of money off of Engine, but I never actually interacted with the blockchain itself or played any of their games or anything like that. I just, that was before I really got into the gaming aspect itself. When I was just,
Hmm.
kind of getting into crypto, I did pick up a bunch of their stuff, and I got it at like 34 cents, and then I happily took profit on everything from $1 all the way up to $2, and then I watched it go up to $80, and it was like, okay, never sell all of your bag. Like, take profits all the way up, yes, but don't sell the last little bit of it, because you never know how high it's actually going to go. And as long as you've already
Yeah,
taken
decent
profits
advice.
on the way up, you got your bag back, reinvest it somewhere else, but keep some of it for a rainy day.
Hmm. Hmm. Solid advice, man. Solid advice.
I learned that same lesson with Doge. Unfortunately, it took me twice to really learn the lesson, but Doge happened first. I got it at like 0.007 cents and happily took profit all the way from 1.5 to 2 cents. Sold the last bit at 2 cents, feeling like a king, and then watched it go up to 80. Like, come
You're
on.
like, damn it. That those things you can't beat yourself up about, man. It's gonna happen.
Oh yeah, no.
You know.
Super happy
Well,
to have taken profit. Like, that's the important place to be. Even realizing that you could have done a whole lot better, it's still way better than a loss. And I've definitely taken
oh
a
yeah.
loss on some things as well. So, what are your favorite wax projects currently?
Like I said, I mentioned them earlier, but I really love Forge Arena and what they're doing. Like I said, because I want games. I don't want to necessarily sit around and just play a bunch of passive little clickers that are for earning. That's not my favorite thing to do. There's some decent ones on Wax when you talk about that level of game. Like they have some decent ones. But I'm really excited for what Forge Arena is doing. I really liked what Hodl God was doing at 1.2, and I'm sad that that project kind of folded and left the kind of community just screwed. But there's some other projects that are doing some interesting stuff. Afterland is also kind of cool. They're still kind of early with their project, but it's a actual fun game. And my buddy Sammy Snake over doing his Nova Rally, getting that 3D version out there, I think is pretty cool too. So there's a couple of like games on Wax that I actually kind of enjoy. Yeah.
Cool, cool. That's definitely a good thing to hear, that we're moving forward with more actual gameplay and less of just the
Hmm.
card game.
Hmm.
Although, I mean, I do love the card game aspect, but you're right. It's fairly limiting as far as actual intensive gameplay, and that's something that a lot of people really like. It's something that I'm a huge fan of as well. Like
Right.
Diablo style action, um, racing games, stuff like that. That where you're actually in control of stuff. You're actually playing, not just click click click. That is
Yeah.
one of the
Yeah.
things
Yeah.
I love about Splinterlands, is how they step up the interaction, even though it's still just clicking. But yeah, moving into actual games that require real play is definitely
Yeah.
a good step.
No, yeah, I totally agree, and I think that it gets boring after a while like that, man. I just can't do it for a long, long time. It just gets boring.
Have you played Realm at all? How do you feel about that one?
I have not. No,
It
no.
was one that was a little bit more active, and I enjoyed it a lot. Actually, when I first got started with it, it was like immediately struck me of old school Command and Conquer gameplay,
Yeah,
like
that's cool.
before Red Alert was a thing. Kind of simple on the graphical front and whatnot, but just very fun and engaging gameplay. And I played for a bunch of seasons. I started doing pretty well, and then it got to the point where it was like, honestly, it was too much of a time sink for me. It was
Hmm.
stopping
Hmm.
me from being productive in other ways, trying to keep up. And so I finally called it quits on that for this season. But I had a lot of fun with that game, and it really didn't become huge like that until I started pushing those higher and higher leagues and whatnot. And just like anything else, the higher you climb, the more investment you're really going to have to put into it. And so
Yeah,
I
yeah.
kind of realized I'm spread too thin in a lot of ways, involved in too many projects, and so it's kind of best to cut some down. And it's still a great game, but that was one that had to go just for the time investiture.
Yeah, I feel you, man. It's hard when you got a lot of games in the old queue, and What are you gonna do? Some's got to get sacrificed. Some's
Exactly.
gonna get
So if
sacrificed.
you had to jettison one right now, what do you think it would be?
If I had a jettison one game right now, oh man, that's hard. So you know, to be perfectly honest, I hate to say it, but maybe Splinterlands, dude. I hate that. You know, right now I like it, I enjoy it, but it's still on that like bottom level of like the type of gameplay and stuff that I really, really enjoy. Like, I love MMORPGs, I love FPSs, I love MOBAs. You know, I like card games too, but at the same time, like you know, it gets stale. I feel like it gets stale quicker for me. I don't know what it is, but you know, I felt the same way about Gods Unchained. I play a ton of that as well. That's way more time intensive. So I don't know. I guess I've already kind of dumped Gods Unchained. So I guess probably really Gods Unchained at this point. But I still would pop in and play every once in a while. You know, I still pop in and play every once in a while.
Fair enough. I never really
Yeah,
got into Gods Unchained, but I feel the same way about Skyweaver. Like, I was very excited. I got into Skyweaver's alpha and whatnot. I tested it out, and it was a beautiful game, but it
yeah,
just takes so long on the match front that it's just like,
hmm,
yeah, I'm already in Splinterlands, and that's a lot more satisfying. And I
yeah,
feel like it's the same style of gameplay, only, I've only got enough really room in my head and my clock for one of these. And the fact that, you're looking at a 5 minute complete match versus, that long played out game, it was kind of a big deal. Although, if I had done Skyweaver first, I probably would have felt the same way there because it does have much more of a Magic style gameplay to it, and
yes, yeah,
Magic is the big one
traditional.
for me.
Yeah, definitely, it's very much a traditional style TCG. You know, same thing with Gods Unchained. You know.
Yeah, the and, like, Magic is actually what got me primarily hooked on Splinterlands, like making that changeover, because especially, COVID hit, and now it's impossible to play anywhere face to face, and so all my cards are
Yeah.
just kind of gathering dust. And I'm not gonna play online Magic because both Magic the Gathering Online and MTG Arena have the problem of you don't own your assets, and it's like, I know how much I've spent on Magic over the years, and it's because I own those cards. And now, actually, I've recently sold off my collection. I've got all of my decks intact, but I sold off all the chaff because it was like, okay, I got bills to pay, and this is literally just collecting dust in the cupboard. So, let me keep what I like. I'll get rid of the rest, and if I want to build another deck, I will just buy the cards and build the deck. I don't need to,
Mm.
have a massive collection of 15,000 cards anymore, and I feel a lot better for that. But with online Magic, you can't do that, and so, I mean, yeah, there is the trading and whatnot, and you kind of own your assets, but it's really along the lines of like, it's so much more difficult to pull those assets out if you ever quit, and also the line of, if Wizards decide that you're done, then you have no recourse. You're just done. And with Web3, if my account ever got banned from Splinterlands for whatever reason, I would still be able to go in, access my assets, pull them off of there, sell them, and withdraw from the game. So
Hmm.
at least, I have that recourse, and obviously I'm not worried about that happening, but like, just the fact that it's there, for everyone to have that knowledge, because I've definitely heard about people, on Magic getting banned for whatever reason, losing all of their assets, thousands or
Of
tens
course.
of thousands of dollars. And
Yeah, I mean that was one. That's one of the main reasons why I want NFTs in all these games, because, well, not every game, but the games where it makes sense, because of
yeah,
that same exact
absolutely.
reason.
I would love to see. Okay, so out of any AAA project, who would you most love to see go the route of NFTs and ownership in game, of the ones that are not connected at all?
I think the one that would make the most sense and probably have the biggest impact would be CS:GO. And that's because they already have a market, like a third party marketplace structure, and already set. So I think just having those assets be NFTs would benefit them in a couple of different ways, but wouldn't change the ecosystem. It wouldn't be like, oh, this is new, this is different. Like, it's not like, oh, now your Fortnite skins are NFTs and they have a whole new marketplace and it's all new to their users and to the ecosystem. CS:GO already has all that stuff kind of built in, but NFTs as the skins would, I think, work really well, and just be able to be something that you could easily tracked. There's more transparency, which I think is good for that type of stuff. So I think CS:GO would work really well.
Absolutely. I feel like that would be a natural kind of step as well, because as you said, they've already got that economy
Mhm.
pretty much, wired and whatnot. It's just, a bit of a transition as opposed to building from scratch. I feel like the
Yeah.
ease of use would definitely be a great idea there. As far as
Mhm.
the most exciting for me would be Diablo. Like when Diablo 3 came out, then they had that real money auction house for a while. I was
Yeah.
super excited about that. I pre-ordered it as soon as that news came out, and then I picked up my copy. I was at Blockbuster at midnight, or at GameStop at midnight, waiting for the release, hanging out and whatnot. I get it. I get home. I install it. Takes hours, and I go to log on and play, and my graphics card can't run the game. So it took me like 6 months to actually get a graphics card capable of running the game, and by that time the real money auction house was already dead in the water. So I never really got to experience it. But that's and I know and it's one of the things that is kind of more likely to happen because of their how Immortal was
Hmm.
with the microtransactions, but I also understand how that kind of ruined the game for a lot of people, and so I hope it's not to that extent. Like I feel like it
Hmm.
could
Hmm.
definitely be done better, and obviously I
Yeah.
don't think we're gonna see it in Diablo 4, but maybe Diablo 5. I feel like would be very exciting. And it's like I understand how everyone hates Immortal and whatnot, but it's like I'm not gonna put a whole lot of money into it, but I have to beat the game. I have to follow the storyline and find out what's happening to Sanctuary. Like that's not an option to just completely skip it. So
Yeah. Yeah, man. I mean, I think eventually all these games are going to incorporate the technology. It's just going to make sense. It's just
yeah,
going to make sense.
absolutely. I feel like if you're not at least actively thinking about it, then you are actively asking to get left behind.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I don't know. Like, it's going to be hard for the like dynasty games to do it. They'll probably be some of the last ones, but I think we'll definitely see some cool games that are coming up that incorporate NFTs and blockchain technology that make a splash just because they have a great game, and then that's an additional benefit.
We're just pulling up the chat real quick because we've got some good questions there. Encrypted's one of my buddies that's also pretty big on wax. He's actually the one who got me into Realm, and he was number one on Realm for a good while. He asked, what's your thoughts on the BTC run currently going on? Do you think it's gonna go up? Do you think it's a suckers rally? How do you feel about the health of our primary crypto?
I mean, Bitcoin kind of leads the way when it comes to the industry in general. And I think that what we're seeing right now is kind of what we call like a bear market rally, or a suckers rally. And the reason why I think that really is just because of the general economic outlook for the entire world, like what we're seeing on a global scale. It's not very good, and I think a lot of this stuff has been propped up, and you know this may be that last like kind of leg up or last rally before we see things really truly bottom here, and that might be correlated also with the stock market too. So I mean, it's just one of those things you got to be careful of if you're a long-term trader or long-term person, mindset. Probably not going to affect you too much. If you're trying to catch some swing trades, maybe this was a good time to like sell at a certain peak if you bought just a little while ago. But I think a lot of people are still probably going to have to hodl if they were holding it from this last bull run. So we
Right,
have to wait
that's
until it's
definitely the
actually
case.
confirmed.
I'm
Yeah.
kind of in agreement there. I feel like we have not seen the actual bottom where,
Hmm.
we're going to possibly see a little bit more upside, but I definitely see some downside coming. Shake out the
Yeah.
paper hands one last time. What do you think of for the Bottom.
I mean, I'm still thinking that we'll see Bitcoin like around the 14K range. I could definitely see that being the bottom. We got fairly close there, maybe 12K range, 14 to 12K range. I think we got somewhat close there on the last low of general low here. So I think we could definitely see that, and then that means Ethereum probably below $1,000, maybe 800 range. maybe something
Yep.
like that. So,
I'm kind of in the 12 to 12.5 camp myself. I think that's where
mhm.
we're most likely to bottom out. Of course, none of this is financial advice from either of us. Do your own research, make your own opinions. But yeah, I feel like that's a likely target range. And, really my only, suggestion as far as, taking advantage is, yeah, 14, 15, start buying, DCA in all the way down. And,
Mhm.
we'll see when it starts to recover, but when it does, if you did, you'll probably be in a pretty good position overall.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Agreed.
what do you think about Square Enix? They have already started working on NFTs. Are you a particularly big fan of any of their projects? I've also followed Final Fantasy for a long time. Absolutely loved most of those games. And I
Yeah.
actually got out at Final Fantasy 11 because I never liked the pay to play. Just having to subscribe to the game on a monthly basis in order to play it.
Yeah. No, I mean, I love Square Enix, man. I've been a Final Fantasy fan since the beginning, and I think that they're testing the waters right now with their symbiogenesis kind of division. We'll say that project there. So it's great to see large big corporate entities in gaming like really start to pay attention to this technology and want to explore it. So I'm glad to welcome them kind of into that, and hopefully they continue down that path. They got a interesting partnership with the Sandbox as well, so we'll be seeing some stuff there too. And yeah, it's crazy. Like, seeing this now is crazy. When I was talking about this shit 4 years ago, and no one cared, no one was talking about it, no one was, really talking about like streaming these things, and now to see, more and more people take notice is great, really.
Yeah, I can only imagine that because obviously it wasn't there that long ago. I actually bought in December 2020. Bitcoin was right around 20K when I first bought in, and so enjoyed the ride all the way to the top, and actually, like, I had such faith in Bitcoin for the future that kind of for a gag, I started a DCA bot at 65,000, knowing full well that it was going to drop. And so I watched as my average purchase price went from 60,000 down to under 30. And it was like, that's lost a lot of money currently, but in the end, I'm still going to be happy with it. So I feel like, it doesn't matter really where you buy in. In the long run, it's going to be higher than we've ever seen. So, obviously, is it better to buy lower? 100%. But,
Yeah.
even that, like, also just kind of showing the power of DCA. That's like, yeah, okay, even when you buy in knowing it's the top, if you believe in the project long term, and again, not recommending that to anybody. But yeah, like it dropped down to the point where my average purchase price was not nearly as bad, because as low as it's been, every time I'm buying, it's dropping that average price, and I'm just getting more and more for the same. It's $1 a day, so like it's not huge by any means, but just kind of showing the power of DCA itself.
100%, man. Yeah.
Kind of crazy that it's actually in profit now. Like not much, but 22,000 from 60,000 when you're buying low a lot of the time, then it doesn't take much for it to turn profitable and still
Yeah, it
keep
depends
it
on your
going.
strategy. It's all dependent on that strategy, man. If you're trying to swing trade, then maybe you caught like I said, you caught it at a point where it's kind of has its local bottom, and then you sold it because you could have bought Bitcoin at like what 15.5 or something, 16,000, and then sold at 23,000,
Yeah, definitely a
and
great
did
way
decently.
to gain profits for those who are keen to try and maximize that. For me, when I've tried to do that kind of swing trading and whatnot, I tend to buy in at the wrong moments and sell out at the wrong moments. As I was saying with the engine and Doge or whatnot, even when I make the right call on the buy, I make the wrong call on the sell,
Hmm.
and sometimes make the wrong call on the buy as well. So I tend to be more along the lines of the DCA in hodl, take profits when you can to
Hmm.
get that original investment back, but keep building over time by just getting what you believe in long term and holding it. And that's kind of the same way I've approached the games, and it feels like there have definitely been some opportunities that I've missed out on because I could have got in early on something and then just sold out right after launch when it's super profitable. But in all honesty, I'm more interested in playing the game for the long term, and so like Dead End City was one on Wax that I was super stoked about. Bought a zombie beforehand and whatnot, and then was like in the Discord counting down the seconds to when the game actually launched, and then the game didn't launch. And it was an hour later, and I'm still in there like asking questions, and then it's an hour and a half later, and I'm like, it's beginning to look a lot like rug pull. And then I start getting flamed by the community and the creators, and I'm like, okay, well, I don't need to be part of this project regardless, and put my zombie up on the market. And I bought it for 112 wax, and it's currently worth less than one. So
yeah,
that was just never
it
launched.
happens, man.
So it's important to always do your own research and make sure you know what you're getting into, because some things look good and are not.
It's true, man. It's a constant problem. You never really know what's going to end up working out and what's going to end up being. Sometimes, like I said, they can make it look really good.
Yep.
You're just like, oh shit, I thought it seemed like it was great, but turns out nope, not so much.
Absolutely. What's the worst one that you've gotten pulled on?
That's a good question. I don't know that I've ever bought into something like very heavily and got rugged on it that hard. Probably Hodl God. If you want to talk about something on wax, like I did spend a decent amount of wax on Hodl God stuff, and I feel like that was probably one of the biggest rugs, like an actual rug. Not my biggest loss when it comes to NFT purchases, but definitely one of the biggest rugs. The biggest loss for NFT purchases, like I bought an NFT and then the value just tanked, was a NFT on Nifty Gateway. That it was an NFT drop that the music artist Grimes did, and so I bought it for like a really high price, and then it just tanked like very shortly after the drop. It went down significantly and just kept going down and I stupidly hodled too long, and I lost about 85 to 90% of its value, and I'm just like, shit, well, sometimes you gotta take the L, man.
Right. Do you still have it, or did you sell it at that low?
No, I did eventually sell it. Yeah, I did eventually sell it.
I've actually I still have that zombie, because it's like I just as a pride thing, as a lesson to myself, like it's still in my wallet, because it's like I refuse to actually sell it for that much of a loss. I'll just keep it as a reminder of be more vigilant. Thankfully, that's the only one of those that I actually have, but there have been a few other games where like I've gotten involved and taken some profit and whatnot, and then things have started looking sideways, and I've gotten out before shit hit the fan,
right,
thankfully, and taken profit, and so like I'm getting a lot better at actually spotting those. But they're definitely still out there, and it always sucks to lose a bunch of that profit. And it's like, my kind of basic philosophy is, don't invest anything you can't afford to lose, as very common advice. But my follow up to that is, when you invest it, consider it lost. Consider all of your investments worth zero, and that way, if you ever sell them, it's a profit, no matter what the price is. And sometimes though it's just not even worth taking that whatever out of it. Sometimes it's worth just keep it for whatever reason, and for me the reason is that lesson, not that I ever expect it to turn around.
It's a good way of looking at it, for sure.
Encrypted has a personal bad take: the wax space is becoming polluted. What are your thoughts on that?
Polluted like how? I mean, polluted with like too many low quality projects, or polluted with bad community members, or polluted by the wax, team themselves. I don't know, man. Polluted as far as like the same project kind of being done over and over again, I would say, yeah, like once again, idle clickers, simple card based things. I could definitely see that. I could definitely see
What are
that.
you? What are your thoughts on Forsaken? Are you familiar with that one?
I am, yeah. Actually, I just had the team on my channel here like about a week ago or so. It was a good interview. You guys go watch it on my channel. We did some interviews with a couple of people that time. But yeah, it was a great interview talking with them and having their community on. I think Forsaken's actually kind of cool, man. I think that they've at least thought out their platform very well. Like the platform itself works really well, looks really good, professional. There's definitely passion there, and they have a pretty good community as far as I saw. Like, so I mean, I like it. It's not necessarily the thing I'm going to go like play all the time or do, but because once again, it's a simple kind of straightforward type of card game.
Yeah.
But I do like what they're doing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely still, the kind of 1v1 card game that we've come to expect, but man, did
Mm-hmm.
they do it beautifully.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the gameplay is pretty fun and engaging. I personally am not a huge fan of the Blitz. I feel like it's just a little too much RNG, but I am super
Mm-hmm.
stoked for the standard, and I can't wait to see those cards acting as individual cards rather than just, it's just your type and just match 3 and play and whatever. I feel like
Sure.
it's got a lot of potential, and I'm glad that they made Blitz the way they did to test, the just the ability of playing the cards and everything like that to kind of work that infrastructure. But I'm super excited that that's not the real game. But man,
Yeah.
those cards are beautiful. Like that is some of the best NFT art that I have seen in terms of a large collection. There's some
Mm-hmm.
really
Mm-hmm.
cool, one-off stuff out there. Uh, what are your thoughts on PFPs and like the style of non-gaming NFTs in whatever various different kind of iterations they have?
They're okay. I mean, I was never like a big fan of them. I think that most of the hype came from speculation of them, and they had their place in the history of NFTs and what's going on, but it's just not something that super appeals to me. Like I have tons of like NFT, PFP avatar, NFTs, but it's very beginning surface level use case for NFTs. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah. Do you have an ape?
I don't have a Bored Ape. No.
Neither do I. I have actually never owned. Actually, no, I do have one ETH NFT. It's not a PFP. It's a trophy that I won from a Splinterlands tournament, and
Mm.
its utility is that it allows me into other similar Splinterlands tournaments. Like there's a series of tournaments that are only available for Presidential Cup winners, and so I
Mm.
have one of those. And I can get into those tournaments, but I really don't tend to do too many tournaments to begin with because I'm always doing ranked play, and
Sure.
I have so many other games that it's just trying to keep up with everything. Something's got to go, and I typically didn't do all that well in the tournaments either. So I kind of just that's the thing to go. But the only PFP I've ever really been interested in is Rooney, and that's just because it had that utility of being an awesome in-game card. And I currently have access to a Rooney because there's an awesome streamer who has delegated me one for a while, but I don't have one, and that's really the biggest thing that I wish I had been able to take advantage of, and the only one that I've really been interested in at all.
Yeah, the utility is decent, but the art, I'm not like a big fan. I didn't really like the art. What was going on with those things? So I was
Yeah,
like, eh.
I mean, they look kind of cool, kind of nifty, not like super crazy impressive. Although
Yeah.
I am a Splinterlands TV streamer, and for the long time, my background that I use, actually I still do, is kind of a sunburst pattern. And when I realized that that was actually a pattern that they used as one of the backgrounds on Rooney, like my entire thing up to that point had been, I don't care what it looks like, I just want the Rooney for the card. And then I saw that and I was like, okay, now I need this background. And of course, it's the rarest of all of the backgrounds, so there are none of those cards that are available for free. But thankfully, I at least have the card to play with, and he's a beast. Do you have a Rooney?
Yeah. No, I don't. No, no. No Roonies.
What's your favorite card?
My favorite Splinterlands card overall,
Yeah, one card.
bro. There's only one card that could ever be considered the favorite card ever, and that is the Furious Chicken.
That is?
Oh, it's the Furious Chicken, man.
Oh, chicken. Yeah. And see,
Yeah.
I can't disagree with that. And I feel like really
Best
the
card
primary
equivalent.
difference
There'll never be a
between
better
modern
card.
and wild right now is chicken. Like, there's no other card that is that kind of just ubiquitous. I mean, ooze comes in second, but like playing between modern and wild, I feel like is not that different, and they probably should have done that with Rebellion rather than Chaos Legion, because that way you got rid of Untamed too, and there would be an appreciable difference between the leagues. Right now, I mean, there are some other cards like Bobby says, Flesh Golem, Ruler of the Seas is a big one that I use, Alric, Hydra. But aside from certain things, and they really only become more important in the higher leagues, especially in Novice and Bronze. Like the only two cards that actually matter are Chicken and Ooze. That's it. So I feel like it would have been better done at Rebellion. Also, possibly, hopefully, then we have a larger player base, so it makes more sense to divide it. I do once in a while run into matching problems, and I've heard people like putting out suggestions for a third league, and it's like, no, that's a great idea further in the future, but right now we cannot split the player base even more. Like you'll run into, especially if we do have any kind of significant impact on the number of bot farms. Like if we got rid of them right now, you would not be able to get a match within a couple of minutes if everybody that's got 10,000 accounts all of a sudden was gone overnight. I feel like it would kill the
Good
game,
point.
honestly, because you wouldn't be able to get a play.
It definitely would. Yeah, definitely would.
And yeah, Bobby, Mylor will absolutely get you out of bronze and silver pretty early, but that's still modern, and that's what I'm saying. Like with Rebellion, when Untamed leaves, like Kitty, Jotun, Llama, Mylor, Oster, all of those cards are gone. Then there's a huge difference in between modern and wild, and that's why I'm a wild player. In Magic, I was a modern player. I did standard for a while just because that was the easiest way to play a lot, because every FNM is standard. But I kind of always hated the rotating format, and that's what drew me into modern. It's like, yeah, you're going to pay a lot more to build your deck the way you want it, but you're going to pay it once, and then you're going to update that deck every once in a while as new cards come out, new bans come out. That's why I stopped playing Storm, because I got sick and tired of every card I played being banned.
Yeah.
But like I play Fish, I play Boggles, and I've got a couple of Pioneer decks as well, because again, non-rotating format, and just I built those decks, and they're evergreen. There's just some changes to things as the meta changes, but and then for Splinterlands, of course, now it's still the card pool just expanding, so you want to have all of the new cards as well. But I don't want to be in the position of all of my old cards are now worthless, or in a position of I have to sell these cards because they're rotating out, and then get all of the new cards. I'd rather just keep building up everything and take advantage of those rotation opportunities to pick up some things for lower than their value. I feel like when Rebellion comes out and Chaos Legion and Untamed and Dice leave rotation, I feel like there's going to be a great opportunity there, probably for only a couple of days, where people are en masse kind of selling off the rotated out wild stuff so that they can buy into Rebellion even bigger. I feel like it's going to get gobbled up by players who are thinking along the same lines as me, but I do think it's going to happen. What are your plans for Rebellion? Are you going to go massive into the pre-sale? Are you going to wait and stock up cards on the market? Are you going to kind of ignore it for a little while and then try and pick up cards on the market? What's your kind of approach?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, man, I feel like, once again, we're seeing, do we really need another freaking expansion set and another pack sale? Like, not really, man. So, I mean, I'm not really going to be going big in this set. I'll probably pick up cards in the secondary after it's kind of out and doing its thing for a little while. I'm not gonna go even as hard. Like I didn't even go. I wouldn't even consider like I went hard in Chaos Legion either. I mean, I think I like total of what I purchased was like a little over 600 packs, so not a ton.
So basically, got
And
enough to guarantee yourself one of each airdrop, and then kind of quit
right,
there. That's not a
right,
bad place to do. I
yeah,
can't afford to make that big of a splash. So, like my approach with Rift Watchers, I missed out on the Chaos Legion pre-sale because I just didn't have any SPS staked. Well, I had all of my SPS staked, but not enough to earn any vouchers. So I
mm-hmm.
earned and used like 4 or 5 vouchers. Missed the opportunity to sell them for insanely high, and so I didn't get a Dr. Blight. Completely missed out on him. Learned my lesson from that I definitely wanted to make sure I got enough for at least one copy of Usher, and so that was the one time I uh, withdrew from SPS staking, and I missed out on Usher too because my slow computer made my buy order 30 seconds late, and so I was outside of the pre-sale, and it was kind of salty about not having that window extended to 3 minutes because like I had no kind of warning whatsoever when I bought my packs. I was confident that I was getting my Usher, and then all of a sudden, there was no warning, anything like that when it went through that I was too late, and I would not have bought those 50 packs knowing that I wasn't going to get Usher or validity for Kane Hayes even. So I was a little bit salty about that, but that's kind of still my plan for Rebellion. Is I'm going to try and make sure that I've got enough packs to at least get a guaranteed copy of the first airdrop, the promo card, because I've seen
Mm-hmm.
how ridiculously expensive they get as opposed to any of the other airdrops. And then after that, everything is going into picking up the rotating cards. I'll wait a month or so and start picking off the new cards as they come back down. I don't want to be competing for the first copies coming out because I see how insanely high those prices are. I did that in Chaos Legion. Like I knew, honed in immediately as soon as the set was spoiled. Like I'm getting a gold obsidian. That is my number one priority out of this set, and thankfully I pulled one on my third pack. But
Well,
2 days before that, the day it came out, I bought one off the market. I was like, okay, I don't care, $80. I know it's going to go down. I know it's not going to be worth this again, if ever, for a long, long time. I don't care. This is the card that I need for my deck because I'm a
mm-hmm.
big, big fan of the gold foils. And so that was the beginning of me putting together all of the Chaos Legion summoners in gold, and pretty much growing from there. And I've since picked her up at $15, and I still don't regret buying her at 80 because like it was the card that I needed for my deck, and I did it fully aware that it was gonna go down.
Oh yeah, I mean sometimes you just gotta do it, man. Gotta pull the trigger.
Absolutely. So we've had about 7.5 minutes left. I want to respect your time, so I'm gonna go ahead and give you the platform, and you can talk about whatever the heck you want to. Ask me anything, shill whatever you want. Like the final minutes are gonna be yours, and make sure that you go ahead and let the audience know where they can find you, because to everybody out there, this man has amazing content that covers all sorts of games, not just Hive, not just Wax, but touching on a little bit of everything. And he's definitely a great source for you to do some of your own research and learn a whole lot.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I mean, in general, follow me on YouTube. Make sure you go there and hang out and watch the videos. In general, my main focus this year really is focusing back on creating a more diverse and fun community to be in, right? Whereas creating videos is one thing that people like and are informative or they are entertaining for them, but really fostering a community that games together, that has a good time talking about gaming and NFTs and can support each other. Like, oh, hey, here's a new thing, way you should be doing this in this game, or what about let's go practice this stuff together. Or, a good example was we were playing in the Mojo Bowl here, me and my community, and some of our top community members got access to be able to play in the closed qualifiers, which is really nice. And it was fun. We got on the stream together. We were practicing with each other, against each other, trying to play some matches. And And that's the kind of thing that I'm really focusing on this year is just, fleshing out the community and finding more ways to like be interactive and have fun with everybody together. And so, I wouldn't say I've done like an extensive overhaul of everything, but in general, the community, I think that, it's, the community right now, it's called the Gaming Intelligence Agency, the GIA. And that kind of ties back into like, my character, Secret Agent Stash, and everything going on there. And so everything's very secret agent themed. But as a community, I think that people are really enjoying the new benefits and the new things we're doing with closed play tests with our top agents, and getting some great value back from being able to get in on some of these games that are brand new, that are testing, and then be able to give feedback and play multiplayer with me and do some cool play tests. So it's really becoming a good gaming community. I wouldn't call it like a guild or like an esports team or anything like that, but just people who want to come together and talk and like love playing games. And most of them are into NFT type of games. Some people are in there, they're just not necessarily in NFTs, but we talk about other type of gaming as well. So I think fostering that community is really the focus this year. And I'm having fun doing it. We're having a lot of fun with the community and doing those things. So the GIA represented pretty well. Like I placed overall 7th in the Mojo Melee tournament, which is kind of a team fight tactics auto battle style game. It's kind of interesting. But yeah, so in general, make sure you're following on YouTube and watching the videos there. And then if you want to come and actually be part of the community and hang out, see what we're doing, and get in on some of these cool monthly benefits and perks and play tests and things we do, definitely jump in the Discord and see what everything's all about and hang out and come game with us. Outside of that, a lot of things that people don't know is that I have a game on Wax that it's a live stream NFT game. And what that means is that during my live stream on Thursday, it's a special day it's called Top Secret Thursdays. You can actually use these NFTs to interact with my live stream. And that is like getting me to change into different disguises, or getting me to do fun actions or things like sing a song or lose on purpose or play blindfolded for 10 seconds, or a variety of other things. Even there's even NFTs that you can use to get me to change the game I'm playing. So it's a really fun, interesting way to interact with the community and have them interact with you. And so these things like show up live while I'm playing, and you can kind of like be part of the action too. So that's a lot of fun, and something that we've been kind of refining and perfecting here over the last year or so.
That sounds pretty awesome. It looks like a couple of our viewers actually remember your demo and whatnot. Are you still streaming on Theta?
Yeah, every week.
I've gotta get into that. How is that working for you? What are your thoughts on it, and how easy was it to kind of integrate into that?
Theta's cool. I like the platform. I think that them as a blockchain and kind of what they're doing, they slowed down a little bit here during this bear market. But in general, I like the technology a lot, and I've always liked the Theta community. And so I've done quite a bit of stuff there, and yeah, I still continue to stream and do things there. I think that just some of the attention is not as much on Theta TV's on the platform as it was probably during the bull market.
Fair enough. Fair
Yeah.
enough. Are you active on the Hive blog at all, or is that something that you pay attention to or kind of ignore?
Yeah, I used to be, man. I used to repost all of my content on Steam and then on Hive. On Peaked. But I don't do it anymore. I probably should get back to doing it, but there's just so many platforms, man. It's hard to like really hit everything. Hit every single platform is really hard, even with a good team behind me.
Yeah, absolutely. It's something I've been getting a lot more active on lately. But you're right. It's when you're working on YouTube and Twitch and the different games and everything. It does
And
tend to.
Twitter and TikTok and Instagram, and it just keeps going.
Yeah,
So yeah, it
absolutely.
can be
It's
difficult, man.
it's difficult to keep up. I'm really really bad at Instagram. I'm getting better at Twitter. I left TikTok entirely just because I don't want that much data being in China's hands. But I also like out of all of them, that's the one that cost me too much time. Kind of like Facebook.
Hmm.
Like I would get too involved in that trap and just scroll endlessly rather than actually being productive. So I tend to limit things to Twitter and and Insta, and I'm really only actively involved in Twitter. But mostly it's about posting to YouTube and the Hive blog and
Mhm.
doing the streaming on Twitch and whatnot. And definitely need to get better at keeping everything managed and whatnot. It's an art form, and you do it pretty well.
Thanks, man. Appreciate that.
Alrighty, well, it's about our time, so again, I want to be respectful of your time. Thank you so much for joining. Do you have any last words? And I will, of course, for everyone, go ahead and drop all of Stache's links in the description of the replay video, and all yours.
Yeah, man, just get out there and play some games, find some fun stuff. And if you guys want some suggestions or a great community to hang out with, stop by the GIA.
Absolutely. Thank you once again, Cryptostache. Thank you for watching. As always, I've been Rick. You've been on the mountain, and it has been a wonderful time. Thank you much again, and have a great night.